Bullies mock the quiet new kid. Huge mistake, he's a champion fighter in disguise. The bell rang, signaling the start of another day at Westlake High. 15-year-old Ethan Chen adjusted his glasses and clutched his backpack tighter. Weeks at this new school, and he still felt like an alien who'd landed on the wrong planet. Ethan was 5'7" with a soft, slightly pudgy build that came from too many hours reading and not enough outdoors. His dark hair fell across his forehead in an unruly mop that his mother was always trying to tame. He kept his eyes down as he navigated the crowded hallway, a technique he'd perfected for avoiding unwanted attention. What no one at Westlake, what no one could possibly guess, was that for the past 6 years, Ethan had trained religiously in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai under his uncle, former UFC lightweight contender James Chen. 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, Ethan transformed from an awkward teenager into a disciplined martial artist, whose lean muscle was hidden beneath his baggy clothes. "Yo, look who it is, Chen the Penguin." The voice belonged to Damon Miller, Westlake's star quarterback and self-appointed king of the sophomore class. At 6'2", with broad shoulders and a perpetual smirk, Damon towered over most students. Flanking him were his loyal followers, Trevor and Marcus, who laughed on cue. Ethan kept walking, his face burning. "So just keep going, don't engage." "Hey, I'm talking to you, Penguin." Damon stepped directly into Ethan's path, blocking the hallway. "What's the rush? Late for your chess club meeting?" Students slowed to watch, forming a loose circle. No teachers in sight. Never were when you needed them. "I need to get to class," Ethan said quietly, eyes fixed on the floor tiles. "Oh, he speaks!" Damon pretended to be shocked, drawing more laughter. "I thought maybe you couldn't talk English good." He emphasized the grammatical error, mimicking a stereotypical accent. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Uncle James's first rule: never fight if you can walk away. "Whatever, man." Damon shoved Ethan's shoulder hard, causing him to stumble backward. "Just stay out of my way." As Ethan regained his balance, Trevor stuck out his foot. The trip was perfectly timed. Ethan went down hard, his book scattering across the hallway floor. The eruption of laughter felt like acid on his skin. Classic Penguin move. Damon high-fived Trevor as they sauntered away. Ethan gathered his things while a few students watched, none offering help. Only Mia Rodriguez, a quiet girl from his English class, gave him a sympathetic glance before hurrying away. By lunchtime, videos of Penguin's wipeout were circulating on social media. Ethan sat alone at the far corner of the cafeteria, picking at his food and trying to be invisible. I could break his arm in 3 places before he even knew what happened, Ethan thought, then immediately felt guilty. That's not why Uncle James taught me. It's about discipline and self-defense, not revenge. The bullying continued for weeks. Damon and his crew developed a routine, knocking Ethan's books from his hands, accidentally spilling drinks on him, making penguin noises whenever he walked. So each humiliation was more public than the last. Ms. Winters, the English teacher, noticed something was wrong. "Is everything okay, Ethan?" she asked after class one day. "Everything's fine," he lied. What could she do anyway? The one time his parents had complained at his previous school, the bullying had only gotten worse. The breaking point came on a rainy Wednesday in the gym locker room. Ethan was changing after PE when Damon and his friends surrounded him. "Check out the flabby penguin," Damon snickered, poking Ethan's bare stomach. "No wonder you always change in the bathroom stall." What Damon couldn't see beneath Ethan's loose t-shirt was the result of thousands of hours of training, defined core muscles that belied his soft exterior. "Please leave me alone," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the humiliation burning through him. "Or what?" Damon grabbed Ethan's gym bag and tossed it to Trevor. "You'll waddle after us?" Trevor dumped the contents onto the wet shower floor. Ethan's phone clattered onto the tiles. "Oops," Trevor said with mock concern. The screen cracked with a sickening sound that echoed in Ethan's ears. That phone had been a gift from Uncle James for earning his blue belt. Something snapped inside Ethan. No more. That night, Ethan called his uncle. "I can't keep doing this," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "They're never going to—" "Stop." Uncle James was silent for a moment. "You know my philosophy, Ethan. We train to avoid fighting. I've been avoiding it for weeks. It's only getting worse." Another pause. "Sometimes a demonstration is necessary," Uncle James finally said. "Not to hurt, but to establish boundaries. Remember what I taught you about control." The next morning, Ethan dressed with unusual care. He wore a fitted t-shirt instead of his typical baggy sweater. He stood straighter, shoulders back, chin up. Small changes, but they felt monumental. Mia noticed immediately in first period. "You look different today," she said, studying him with curiosity. Ethan just smiled. For the first time in weeks, he felt like himself. By lunch, word had spread that Penguin was acting weird. Damon predictably couldn't resist investigating. Ethan sat at his usual isolated table when Damon and his crew approached. This time Ethan didn't hunch or look away. He met Damon's gaze directly. "What's with the attitude, Penguin?" Damon demanded, leaning over the table. "Someone give you confidence lessons?" The cafeteria quieted as students sensed something was different. "My name is Ethan," he said calmly, continuing to eat his lunch. Damon laughed incredulously. "Oh, excuse me, Ethan." He grabbed Ethan's milk carton and upended it over his tray. "Better drink up before it spills." Ethan stood slowly, his movements deliberate. "I'm asking you once, nicely. Back off and leave me alone." The cafeteria went silent. Even the lunch ladies stopped to watch. Damon's face reddened. "Or what?" He shoved Ethan hard in the chest, or rather he tried to. Ethan shifted slightly, causing Damon's push to meet nothing but air. The quarterback stumbled forward, off balance. "What the—" Damon recovered, his embarrassment turning to rage. He threw a wild punch at Ethan's face. What happened next left the cafeteria in stunned silence. Ethan slipped the punch with a subtle head movement that spoke of countless hours of practice. In one fluid motion, he trapped Damon's extended arm, stepped in close, and executed a perfect hip toss. Damon, all 6'2", 190 pounds of him, went airborne before crashing onto the cafeteria floor with a loud thud. Before Damon could process what had happened, Ethan had him in a controlled side position, one arm secured in a hold that could, if Ethan chose, become excruciatingly painful with the slightest additional pressure. "Like I said," Ethan spoke calmly, his voice carrying in the silent cafeteria. "My name is Ethan. Not Penguin, not Chinese kid, not whatever other names you've been calling me, just Ethan." Trevor and Marcus rushed forward, but Ethan's glance stopped them cold. The controlled precision of his movements made it clear this wasn't beginner's luck. "You're hurting me," Damon gasped, his face pressed against the floor. "No," Ethan replied. "I'm controlling you. There's a difference. I could hurt you, but I'm choosing not to." He released the hold and stood up, stepping back. "That's what real strength is about." Damon scrambled to his feet, his face a mix of humiliation and disbelief. "You're dead, Chen," he threatened, but his voice lacked conviction. "No," Ethan shook his head. "I'm done being your victim. This ends today." He gestured around at the watching students. "Everyone saw that you attacked me. I defended myself. I didn't hurt you even though I could have." Mr. Bennett, the vice principal, finally pushed through the crowd. "What's going on here?" A dozen voices answered at once. "Damon attacked Ethan. Chen just defended himself. It was amazing." Later in the principal's office, Ethan sat calmly while his parents were called. He didn't regret his actions. "Fighting is against school policy," Principal Garcia said sternly, "but given the witness statements and the restrained nature of your response, we're giving you detention rather than suspension." Ethan nodded. "I understand." His mother looked concerned when she arrived, but his father, who had watched Uncle James train Ethan for years, had a glint of pride in his eyes. "You didn't hurt him?" his father asked quietly as they left the office. "No, Dad. I controlled the situation like Uncle James taught me." His father nodded, squeezing his shoulder. The school dynamics shifted immediately. In the hallways, students who had never spoken to Ethan now nodded in greeting. Some asked about his training. Videos of Chen's epic takedown replaced Penguin's wipeout on social media. Trevor approached Ethan at his locker the following Monday. Without his leader, he seemed smaller somehow. "Damon's parents are talking about pressing charges," he said nervously. Ethan closed his locker calmly. "There are about 50 videos showing him attacking me first. I didn't injure him. I didn't even strike him." He shrugged. "They can try." Trevor shifted uncomfortably. "Look, man, that thing with your phone, that wasn't cool. Sorry," Ethan supplied. "Yeah, that," Trevor offered an awkward fist bump before retreating. Mia found Ethan at lunch, sitting down across from him without asking. "So," she said, unwrapping her sandwich, 6 years of martial arts?" Ethan smiled. "How did you know?" "The way you moved. My brother does BJJ too." She studied him. "Why hide it for so long?" Ethan considered the question. "Uncle James always taught me that fighting is the last resort. I kept hoping the situation would resolve another way. But it didn't." "No," Ethan agreed. "Sometimes you have to stand up for yourself." Damon avoided Ethan entirely. For the next 2 weeks, when they finally crossed paths in the hallway, Damon gave him a wide berth, eyes downcast. "Damon," Ethan called, surprising himself. The quarterback stopped, tensing. "We don't have to be enemies," Ethan said. Damon's laugh was bitter. "Easy for you to say. You're not the one who got humiliated in front of the whole school." "I was," Ethan replied quietly. "Every day for weeks." Something shifted in Damon's expression, the first hint of real understanding. "If you ever want to learn some moves," Ethan offered, "my uncle's gym is open to beginners on Saturdays." Damon stared at him in disbelief. "You're inviting me to train with you? After everything?" Ethan shrugged. "The best martial artists understand that it's not about fighting, it's about growth." Damon didn't show up that Saturday, or the next. But on the third weekend, he appeared at the gym door, looking uncomfortable but determined. Uncle James raised an eyebrow at Ethan, who nodded slightly. "First lesson," Uncle James announced to the beginners class, "is learning how to fall without getting hurt." He gestured to Ethan. "My nephew will demonstrate with our new student." As Ethan helped Damon practice breakfalls on the mat, he realized something important. Standing up for himself hadn't just changed how others saw him, it had changed how he saw himself. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't a bully. He was just Ethan Chen, finally comfortable in his own skin. And that, more than any takedown or submission hold, was the real victory.